Welcome back to my channel. In our last video, we covered the red flag of mind games, which, as you know, are the favorite pastime of narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, and the fact that they place intended targets in what initially feels like an impossible position, fighting or fleeing from them and their triggered blind mob of supporters, who are known as flying monkeys in the literature. If that's a situation you're facing, or if you simply wish to raise your resilience in life exponentially, then this is the video for you. When you deal with narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths for the first time, you'll need to learn how to defend yourself, but this type of combat is psychological. There will be a learning curve. A word of warning against retaliation. First, these people are pathological abusers, undercover aggressors, and have been that way for most of their lives. You don't want to get out of character to fight them with the same types of abusive strategies they've used against you.
He who fights with monsters should see to it that he himself does not become a monster. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you.
That's right. In the process of fighting what's satanic, you don't want to be changed into what's satanic. Also, since they have more experience of being undercover aggressors and pathological abusers than you do, your attempts to use their strategies against them are destined to fail. Instead, you can defend yourself by practicing Stoicism, an ancient philosophy from Greece that is Christian adjacent and deeply rooted in reality. If you let this deep, rich philosophy into your heart and mind, it will gradually put you in position to instinctively and correctly read and react to the things that are thrown at you. The classic Stoic frame is that all of life is a training ground to help you develop your character, so anything anybody does, including what these abusers do, is just a chance to get your reps in. Derpers are malware in human form, and they want to take up the resources in your mind that you would prefer to spend on things that are much more important and worthy of your time. This Stoic frame will help you free up those resources by giving you the perspective that it's never really about them. Seneca the Younger says, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." He also says, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Epictetus says, "Every obstacle can become a training ground." The classic Stoic lesson written by Marcus Aurelius is that what stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, what adversity is the resistance that helps us to develop the different strengths of character we need to get around the obstacles. Now let's talk about the obstacles provided by narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths. Trigger-focused abusers try to hijack your emotional system and use it to control you and others. They trigger you to get angry at them, either to simply feel powerful over you, a phenomenon which is quite commonly reported in the literature, or to get you acting out of character, either to record you or place you in front of flying monkeys as a way of advancing their false narratives. Or sometimes these abusers get their flying monkeys to trigger you. And now you're upset and fighting with people who are mostly innocent and righteous, who have been put through the same manipulative triggering techniques that triggered you, to set them up for a battle with you. Those really are the common obstacles, and they are useful for developing patience and indifference. You will need to build 17 different levels of patience to reach the world-class level of Stoic indifference that neuters them. But the good news is, you can and will get there. Another character trait you will need to develop further is your ability to communicate peacefully and effectively while you're upset, providing responses instead of reactions. Trigger-focused abusers put intended targets in a position where they have to continually fight their own emotions. When that happens, Stoics pause to correctly reevaluate and reframe. When your family members and friends get co-opted by the false narratives they are given, something that is rather common in the literature, the natural reaction is to get upset at them, but that reaction will not only push them away from you, but also feed the false narratives that have been generated against you. It is crucial to be patient, peaceful, and effective in communication. Providing responses instead of reactions takes practice, but it can become effortless and automatic. Be patient with yourself and love yourself through the time it takes to reach new skillful levels of responses. It's about progress, not perfection. The third powerful thing that Stoics do is get out the old trash bag and get rid of the importance we place on things that are out of our control. Marcus Aurelius says, the more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus says, some things are in our control and others are not. And later on he continues, confuse the two and you will suffer. For example, when it comes to a job interview, what you can do is prepare extensively for it. And at that interview, you can speak clearly, dress professionally, and answer thoughtfully. But what if the hiring manager already has a preferred internal candidate? If your happiness depends on getting the job, your peace can be erased by the whims of a circumstance that is far beyond your control. The Stoic alternative is, my responsibility ends with ensuring that I perform to my highest ability in the interview. If the manager doesn't hire me, that's okay. Stoics say I express my values and character with my choices, words, and actions. What happens beyond that is not my concern. Outcome independence is one of the most effective psychological defenses we have against manipulative people. Abusers try to identify what you're emotionally dependent upon to gain leverage over you. That's yet another reason why they target your friends and family first. I need so-and-so to not believe this about me. Is outcome dependence. Stoics shift into outcome independence. I need to communicate truthfully and honestly. What anyone else believes about me is ultimately their choice. We shift from, I need person X's approval and support, to, I need to remain the kind of person I respect, regardless of what anyone else concludes. For those of us who have been dealing with decades-long smear campaigns, let me say this. Nobody's beliefs about you ever determine who you are. You determine who you are. Our responsibility is to deserve a good reputation. Whether we actually get one is out of our hands. Another shift is to love people, not for what they can do for us or what they are currently doing for us, but for what they've already done. True Christ-like love is unconditional, and this shift takes us one step closer to that. Not only does it reduce outcome dependence, but it pairs up well with gratitude, another Stoic virtue. This is a joy multiplier and stress reducer. Now let's talk about the most direct solution to the mind game mentioned in the last video. We find this solution in the same blog in which Dr. Vaknin wrote about palindromic speech. So the envelope of the narcissist's message is always reasonable, always flexible, always compromising, always socially acceptable. Something any reasonable, rational person would write. But deep inside the envelope of the message, there is the hidden or coded message, which triggers you, pushes your buttons. The more appropriate, proper, formal the message is, the more hostile it is. Passive aggression masquerades as civility. Narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths not only use palindromic speech, but they are so full of confidence that no one else will catch on to that red flag that they actually advise their followers to also use palindromic speech against intended targets. Remember, advice reveals the advisor. Anyway, Dr. Vaknin provides this solution. This is why I love this man. He's been deeply insightful to me. People from the outside, outsiders, they don't detect the hidden message. And that's what you want to do. Derpers, that is narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, are malware in human form. They want to malware the way you process normal words and phrases. But the bad news for these infantile abusers is that you are fully capable of defaulting back to anti-malware processing. Your mind is yours to control. You can use Stoicism to help you break the minds of your would-be abusers and incorporate Dr. Vaknin's advice to ignore the hidden messages embedded in palindromic speech and return those words and phrases back to their original meanings. It just takes practice. Derpers, that is, narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, are infantile. They can't be honest and face the facts when their strategies fail. Someone else has to find the truth out first. They are the kid in elementary school who hits 1 out of 2 free throws in a basketball game, misses everything else, and then tells everyone, I rained down 10 threes, I hit a free throw, and then I dunked like 6 times, until someone says, well, I was at the game. And they are the type to confidently trot out the old word-charging mind game, even if they've experienced years of failure with it, because as usual, they are based in fantasy. This is how they suck others into their false narrative fantasies. If they were truthful or based in reality, they would say, I got neutered years ago, but you know what? Dogs get neutered. Specifically bitches. That's what I'm talking about. Getting neutered. When you beat the word and phrase charging mind game, you'll discover that when you try to be playful with those words and phrases, a good portion of the flying monkey base will be highly triggered by that. One word, predation. Derpers brainwash their biggest supporters into becoming emotionally triggered over that. When you work with mind gamers, prepare to be mind gamed. Let's set that aside for now. If you can develop 17 different levels of patience to reach a world-class tier of stoic indifference, if you can learn to communicate peacefully and effectively, even while you're upset, if you can shift away from outcome dependence into outcome independence, if you can choose to ignore the hidden messages provided by palindromic speech to return those words and phrases back to their original meanings, you can defend yourself from the psychological attacks of abusers. I've just shared with you a few deep concepts that took me years to discover and implement. If you know someone else who is facing abusers who might find this information helpful, please share this video with them. Narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths have very special personalities, don't they? Emphasis on special. I like your personality. Oh, thanks. It's a disorder. As we add to our continually growing body of knowledge about self-defense against these predatory personality types, the day will come when they are doomed and have nowhere left to hide. Because here's the reality for abusers and the good news for the rest of us. Antisocial behavior typically results in a short-term win that is ultimately exchanged for a long-term loss. Darvo-based strategies get deconstructed and dealt with. Abusers get exposed for their pathological behavior problems. So, even if you're facing a situation that feels hopeless, please don't give up. Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The strategies, concepts, and values that I have shared with you are strategies, concepts, and values that I live by through Christ who strengthens me. I don't like people who talk. Everyone likes to talk, especially derpers. They can't wait to do that. I like people who walk their talk. If someone wants to give me a hot political take, for example, I'm typically not interested. I like the walkers, not the talkers. Those are the real ones, and they inspire me to do the same. The real ones can hate me, and I will still love them, not for what they are doing, but for what they have already done. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. Much love, and God bless.